Howdy, Austin. My name is Emanuel Alejandro Delgadillo. Everybody knows me as Manny Fresh. Welcome to my podcast, Manny Sales Soirée. Well, welcome back to Manny Sales Soirée. I have a really good person here. And the reason actually I brought you, we had coffee. We met at NIA, then we went for coffee. And I know a lot of real estate agents here in Austin, but you resonated to my heart, you know, with a little bit of core values, how do you prospect your clients, you know, and the customer service level that you have. So you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Batya Porter, and I am from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Steeler fan.
Yes, go Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
Don't hold it against me. I've been here in the Austin area for about 10 years now. Mm-hmm. And I had I've always been an entrepreneur. As a kid, my mom said I actually tried to sell blades of grass for $1. And I think I got a few bites in the family. I was like 3, so
nice.
The cuteness factor was still there.
Yeah.
And then after having a nannying business for about 5 years, worked with about 10 different families, mm-hmm. I was ready for my next chapter. Yeah. And my husband, we've actually been together for 14 years now, since we were 15. Wow. He was like, well, you always sound like you're trying to sell us the apartments we rent ourselves, so why don't you get your real estate license? Yeah. And of course, I chose the hardest market in 30 years to join, but the level of hustle and dedication that's required me to gain and create is something that I'm so glad I didn't join during the crazy COVID bubble, because the mistakes would have been made. I didn't have the education, knowledge, or value at the beginning. Yeah. But now I'm just over 2 years in, and the first year was my learning year, my figuring it all out. I did over 60 open houses, 2 to 3 every single weekend, just learning about Austin and all of the suburbs of Austin and things that matter to people. And then I started figuring out patterns and details that were a little bit more intricate and numbers focused, such as tax rate variations. Yeah. When you buy a house, you think of, how expensive is it? What's the price point? But people don't always pay attention to the smaller details, like how high is the tax rate compared to other areas nearby? Yeah. Or if you have a really cool boat, does that area have an HOA, and are they going to allow you to park your boat in the driveway? Are you going to get a fine every week dealing with them? So sometimes the little things make a huge overall impact on people's comfort and peace of mind. And what's helped me grow and stand out in my business is being very education backed. I'm working on my 8th real estate certification right now. Okay. All of them are supplemental extra education that, nobody likes to take an extra class. Yeah. But I'm taking time, energy, and finances so I can add more value to my clients' experiences. I don't want them being my test subjects. Yeah. So by better educating myself, I can add more value to their experience and make sure they know what's going on. Yeah. So obviously, education is a big part of it, very important, for you. Let's go back a little bit. So you're from Pittsburgh, and I thought maybe your family owned a business? Yes. Okay. Yeah, so with the blades of grass story, that didn't quite come out of nowhere. My grandparents started a medical supply company about 40 years ago out of their home. But before that, my grandfather was actually a professor at a university. All of my mom and her siblings were able to go to college for free just because of that, which was awesome. She said her and her 4 siblings used to share a room, and their big treat was like a big gulp Slurpee that they'd put 5 straws in and fight over. And so he used to sell fertilized eggs to different labs so they could test it for their different medical trials and stuff, and then started selling medical supplies, and that grew into several other businesses. And so I grew up around small business. I didn't want the stress and the dynamics of working in the family business directly, but I saw the beauty, power, and freedom of being your own boss and being able to all of your ethics and your energy and efforts and the things that are important to you being able to be displayed and highlighted in its full self within a business.
Gotcha. And then what brought you to Austin? How was that?
So we've been in Austin about 10 years now. We came here first. My husband Ty has some family in Lubbock, Dallas, and San Antonio, and we landed in Austin for him to go to UT. He's a computer programmer, so the introverted numbers guy to the extroverted marketing person that I am. So we balance each other well, and we never left. We've really found our new home, and there's been many other things that I'm grateful for when it comes to building my real estate career. And one of them is I've now finally have a community. I've lived here for 10 years, but only in the last 2 do I really know people. I can run into people at the grocery store and they recognize me. And I only have that in Pittsburgh in the past. So it's beautiful to be so much more connected and in tune with the community around you. And even though I'm not from here, it is my second home, and
nobody's from here anyway.
Yeah, most people are not.
Yeah. So, and then what got you to actual real estate?
So during COVID, like a lot of us, I was thinking about what was next for me, and I'd been a nanny for about 5 years, and I loved it, and I learned so much, but I was ready for something, different, and I wasn't quite sure what that was. I do also have some chronic health issues that affects my day to day. So typical 9 to 5 is difficult, although I work 7 days a week right now, but I tell myself there's more flexibility. So I really wasn't sure what to do. And Ty, my husband, was like I said, the story of just being like, well, you're already so good at making things sound presentable, or like making things sound attractive, or seeing the good in things, presenting stuff. And so I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. The barrier of entry is very low, which is why I do rely so heavy on the supplemental education. But it took me 2 months of online studying, and took my test, passed it, and got thrown into the world of real estate. And you got to sink a little bit before you swim. But it's nice now, being a full 2 years in, I'm seeing all the efforts of what I've been putting in starting to come to fruition, and really building that referral-based business, which is what I think all of us want. The goal is for people the incoming leads are a lot more solid because there's already trust and value built in, because there is that reputation, or their friend or family member or coworker spoke highly of you. That goes further than any advertisement, in my opinion.
True.
And my goal is to have people choose to work with me because they see what I can bring to their experience, and they see the level of ethics and integrity I have as I go through that experience with them. And
that's why you're here. I can't remember your exact words, what you said when we had coffee, but the thing was that you want to educate the customer so much, even if it kind of talk yourself out of a sale, but you're not necessarily talking yourself out of a sale. It's just they'll appreciate that. And I think like the level of the referrals that come in, those are pretty good based on what the service you're providing. So I know a lot of real estate agents here in Austin, and with some of them do luxury, some of them been doing it for several years, but your level of education plus the core values that I resonated in my heart was that, the honesty, we lack genuine people nowadays, and you got all those. So I know education is very good for you, but I think the core values that you offer and the customer service actually are more important for me than that. So.
Absolutely, because you can be the most educated person in the room, but if you're not using that education to best serve your client, but just yourself or your pockets, you're not doing it any justice. And in that case, I feel like the education is making things worse versus helping. But if you use the education to make sure your clients understand more of what they're signing up for, and like you said, it's not necessarily a matter of talking out of a sale, but it's talking them out of the wrong home. Yeah. If the home is at the top of what they can afford pre-approval wise, I caution against that. Yeah. It's better to have a bigger cushion. Most real estate agents don't give that advice. Or with renting, there's a lot of push in the industry. I call it equity shaming, where real estate agents will use renting as a tool to push their clients to buy before they're emotionally comfortable. Oh, it's a waste of money. You're going to spend all this money in a year. For me, if you're paying for peace of mind, it's not a waste of money. And if you're taking on equity before you're emotionally and financially ready equally, you're not going to be able to fully enjoy it, because the level of stress that you're going to have, it's like, is the equity even worth it? And so I highly value the same thing as you said, education and integrity. For me, I value the emotional comfortability and what's going on in your life and in your business and in your family equally to what you can afford on paper, because that just tells part of the story.
Yeah. And just a lot of people think, real estate, it's showing a house, but can you go more in depth? Like, obviously you deal with chronic pain, you said, and then working 7 days a week. Can you paint a picture of what Batya's day-to-day look like, or a week look like?
Oh yeah.
Plus networking.
Yes. I'm everywhere, and thank God for Ty, because honestly, I come home, that man cooks me dinner. Like, I am dead tired, but I run around all day. I do a lot of networking in several small business networking groups in the area, which I love. There's so much value in that. You're able to organically meet and align with different people who have the same business style and ethics as you. I've been able to refer my clients to so many trustworthy local businesses and build referral partners. So that's been great. I also will do community events. So a couple times a year, I'll rent out a snow cone truck, invite out the whole neighborhood, just connect, very organic. Low pressure, high connections. So that feels like me. And I think in business, it's important to build your business off of what feels like you, because if it's not organic, people will pick up on that.
Yeah.
I also do local events. So for instance, this weekend, I'm going to be doing a holiday market at a local, at the San Marcos outlets.
Oh, okay.
So basically, I go to these events and I give out free swag, vibe with people, connect, talk about some property tax, all the good stuff. And usually I meet at least one or two solid connections. And the event's low cost, the items are low cost, but very specific to what people would like, and there's no pressure on it. So I fill my business and my pipeline with all these different avenues, whether it's community events, vendor events, networking, open houses. I do mailers. Most real estate agents don't do physical mailers because they're like, oh, it doesn't work. Like anything, you have to give it time. So 6 months into my mailer campaign, I got a listing, and now I'm about 12 months into it. So I'm going to continue, and I truly feel if the value is there, people will be drawn to you. And that's how I've shifted as I've gotten more comfortable in the networking space, like letting people.
Yeah. So what drives you? I know a lot of people, superficially we say money, and it's true, right? We got to pay bills, but there's got to be, a little bit more in depth of like what makes you, because it's not easy being a real estate agent. It's not just showing houses. And I mean, working on a Sunday, I'm watching football, and then, sometimes I am on the computer checking emails and planning my week, but you got to do open houses on a weekend. So like what drives Batya?
So the primary thing is, I was at 3 networking events yesterday. There's a lot of holiday stuff going on. So I'm a little Kermit the Frog right now, so don't judge me. I usually sound a little better than this. First and foremost, like the chronic pain. For me, I'm like, the pain has to have a purpose. If there's a purpose, I can deal with it way better emotionally and mentally than when I feel like I'm just sitting around and not being productive. So to be able to help advocate and protect and educate people through the biggest purchase of their lifetime and make sure they understand everything and it matches all that they want and need, that fulfills me in a way that makes all the running around worth it. And I mean, all the things I just mentioned before are really the main prospecting tools. But when I meet a client, the attention to detail, for instance, when I show a client a house that they're considering purchasing, before I go, I look up and do a detailed analysis of each house we're going to see what's the difference in tax rates, what are the HOA restrictions, what are the HOA fees, how do they compare, how old's the roof. I'll also look at the seller's disclosure notice, which is a document that the seller fills out basically saying what they know about the property that may be wrong. Yeah. It's not a full picture, but it's a little piece. And so I do that preemptively. In Austin, we've been having crazy hailstorms. Yeah. So if the roof is 10 years old, you might need to get it replaced in the coming years. And so those are things that I prep my clients for up front so they have the full picture. The price, the visual is beautiful, but I don't let my clients get distracted by the pretty. Yeah. I want them to see the real, because the real is what you're going to be stuck with when you close on that home and the bills are due, not the pretty. Yeah. The house could look beautiful, but you have to be comfortable with all of that entails. Yeah.
There's probably like 400, maybe 500 agents in here. In Austin, maybe more. I don't know if you know the number. But
I don't know the exact one, but
gotcha.
Way more.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what makes you have that still drive, weed out other people? How do you stay positive? Maybe that's the right question. Because it's a lot of work and competition for you.
So the work is for me a bigger issue, just not a bigger issue, but more something harder to push through than the competition. I'm very confident in what I bring to the table. I'm also of the belief that people that are meant for me will be for me. Other people's clients are not meant for me. So if I just step over somebody else to grow, I'd be at the bottom. That's not how I do business. So I lean off of my ethics, my education, and my attention to detail. Those three things are very difficult to find in business and especially in real estate. Yeah. And for me, those are my best conversion tactics because they're just trust building. I'm not trying to convert. When I meet someone, I'm not trying to sell them something. I'm trying to get to know them. And if they have questions or needs, I'm happy to help, but it's not my job to tell you what to do with your money. Yeah. It's not my mortgage, it's not my money, it's not my life. So that's not my lane. My job is to educate you on what's going on so you can decide what makes sense.
Okay. And what do you see in shift change, for the housing? Do we have a lot of product or is it still?
Yes, currently there is a lot of inventory. Some areas, it varies, but some areas average days on market range from 80 to 120 days. And in past markets, if it sat that long, it meant it was overpriced. But now sometimes it's just the market demand. And what we're also seeing is seasonality wise, winter, it's always slower. Yeah. But now winter, interest rates, election, all of these factors have taken us to a point where homes are being sold under value. So in some areas I've seen in 2 to 3 months, 20 to 30K reduction in value on the same house. Because 2 or 3 homes within a mile radius with similar specs closed for less, which that lowers the value of your home. Gotcha. So we are seeing dips, but on the positive side, springtime, that's usually when the market picks up. We're hoping for some more rate cuts. We're right now toggling in the mid 6.5%. We go like mid 6, high 6, 7, back down to mid 6, low 6. So I feel when we can get 5.9 steadily or below, there's going to be more buyer interest. So it's that balance.
But then the property would go up probably, no?
Yes, and so it's that balance of as right now with rates being in the 6s, they're not as historically high. Yeah. Rates have been 12, 13, 14% in previous years. Now the home values were much lower then, but still. So the rate is only one factor, but like you said, the value and the price is so much lower now. So you get more bang for your buck, and negotiation wise, there's way more power. So for instance, as a buyer in this market, when you close on a home, there's a title policy that is usually negotiated. Does the buyer pay for that? Does the seller pay for that? Who's covering that? Yeah. It's typically about 1% of the purchase price. And in this type of buyer's market, even though the rates are where they are, the seller will often cover that. So that'll save at least several $1,000s. And then the seller may even cover a home warranty. And then they also may cover concessions. I recently negotiated $7,000 in concessions for a client, which basically means it's money that's credited at closing that they can use towards buying down their interest rate, towards their closing costs, towards associated costs that just makes it even more doable for them to move in. Gotcha. And just negotiation power as well. That one I was able to negotiate $40,000 off. So in a different market, that may not be a thing. The competition directly affects the prices of the home and how much power you have as a buyer.
Gotcha. And where do you see what's popping now, like area-wise? Because I think Pflugerville and Round Rock, I don't know if they're growing anymore, or can they? What do you see?
So I would say Gerald's been starting to grow a lot. Okay. They in the last year put a Starbucks there, and Starbucks have like specific formulas of where they'll put their franchises. The new build guy out there was really excited about that Starbucks. He was eyeing it for months. So there's a lot of growth there. We're also seeing a lot of growth, Hutto, Taylor area. Yeah. As Austin's getting more expensive and as people are moving outward, there's so much more growth in the suburbs. I do a lot of business north of Austin. So Round Rock is continuing to grow.
Oh, is it? Okay.
There's new housing developments all the time. There's new apartment complexes, restaurants being put up as well. Georgetown, Liberty Hill. So Liberty Hill area. Georgetown, Liberty Hill, Santa Rita Ranch area, Leander. So Santa Rita Ranch is a new build community that there's also a lot of growth there. So it really depends what you're looking for. I specialize more in resale, new builds often have higher property tax rates, and
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
they
So
also
no new homes then.
yeah. So I mean, I will do new construction as well, but
Yeah.
most of my clients lean resale.
Oh, okay. My friend bought a house in Manor, and it's being crazy over there. Now they're going to
Yeah.
add an HEV in Manor. They didn't have that. I think they had a Walmart. But now the traffic, oh my God, to get to Manor, it's kind of a little bit insane. She's a gym rat, and she used to spend like 5 hours to go
Yeah.
to the gym to come to Austin, spend an hour in the gym or
Wow.
2, and then get back over there. And I heard some interest. I don't know how much you know about Buda, but I guess Buda, they're fighting to not to grow, right? Like they're fighting to, like somebody told me that they wanted to stay like a little hometown feeling or whatever. So maybe you didn't do anything in Kyle.
So I've recently started working more south. I had a listing in San Marcos this summer, and so I'm expanding more in that area. I will say Buda is also notoriously high with their property tax rate. So they're in the 3%.
Oh, okay.
And you can find in Austin, Round Rock, Georgetown, surrounding areas as low as 1.6.
Okay.
So from 1.6 to like 3.2, if you have a $400,000 to $500,000 house, that's thousands of extra dollars a year in property taxes you're paying. So those are things that I point out to my clients when are they looking South Austin, are they looking Buda or Kyle or San Marcos? Those tax rates are lower.
Yeah.
So it's just looking at the full picture and seeing what's happening. But same thing, Kyle's growing a lot, San Marcos, Buda area.
Gotcha. So I think if I was a real estate agent, I'm very high energy. I think I would just wanted to show the house and be excited and feed off energy. But you are very educated and want to educate the customers with all those numbers. How do you keep pushing through on like education? Like why, I guess maybe, yeah, this is my better answer. Like, why is it so important to you, the educational part?
Because I have heard a lot of really sad and unfortunate stories in the past 2 years from people who've had negative experiences. And even my own experience, when I was a kid, our home was foreclosed on, and my grandparents had to buy it back at auction from the bank.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't fully understand that until I was older, but one of my certifications is in short sale and foreclosure. So just learning from own family experiences and from others' experiences, met people who bought at a high property tax rate at the top of what they could afford, and within a year were priced out of their home, sold at a loss, or back renting and have no savings.
Yeah.
All because of advice that they received. And so hearing these stories, I take a lot of weight and honor when people choose to work with me. It doesn't matter if I have 80 certifications, it's still a choice for somebody to choose to work with me. So every single client I have, I take that as an honor, and I give them the same level of energy and effort, whether I've worked with you 1 time, 3 times, or 15 times, because you deserve that. And if I'm being hired to represent you, that's what I feel like that job entails. So if I'm not going to do that, then I don't need to be in real estate. And there's always more to learn. So if I stop trying to better educate myself, my value will never grow. It may be at a level that I'm happy with now, but it will never increase. So the more I know, the better I can serve other people.
Gotcha. Okay. Give me well, you already told me about your personal experience, but give me maybe another horror story.
Okay, so this is on the investment side. I've in the past year, I've leaned more heavily on the listing side and have met more investor clients. So I'm hearing more of their experiences. And one of my clients ended up purchasing his first investment property in an area that had an HOA that didn't allow short-term rentals. And the real estate agent didn't check that. And the goal was to Airbnb it.
Okay.
So once they closed, couldn't Airbnb it. Profit margins with a 12-month tenant are significantly lower than short-term rentals. So that was completely different from what was expected. So when they met me, it's like, all right, let's get this done. And thank goodness we were able to at least be able to, break even, have them move forward. But that was somebody's nest egg. That was somebody who entrusted in somebody else who didn't do their job well, in my opinion, because that may be a small detail, but to my client, that was, him and his family, that was all the details. Like that was everything. So that, or, met people too who their homes had been foreclosed on altogether because they were pushed into a really like I said, the top of what they could afford, not educated on how much the property taxes could increase. And then another one was just some people, like I'm working with a client now who's a real estate agent in Houston, and he was an investor for over 10 years, and he got his license because he's like, I'm tired of having real estate agents that doesn't feel like they're doing what they need to do.
Yeah.
So he's still learning. We're working together on a project right now in the Killeen area, which I'm excited about.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's just seeing what other people were doing and also seeing what they weren't doing. The level of pushiness, the lack of education, lack of value, the lack of attention to detail was honestly like appalling to me at times, because I'm like, if you're going to do it, do it. Like, I am not comfortable and wouldn't be confident if I didn't have the knowledge and education I have, because that's my value in this business. My value is in what I know and how I can use that to better serve other people.
Yeah. You know, and again, you know, this is why you resonate with me. When I used to sell cars, and when I was selling cars, there's a guy that was playing solitaire in his computer, or, you know, just watching the lot, you know, for somebody to come in. In the meantime, I was actually pulling files of 4-6 years ago that people bought a car, so now it's probably an upgrade, and then writing personal letters. So you do all these good things. So what other advice can you give people that are coming to, you know, want to be a real estate agent? And, you know, what other advice would you give them?
I would say lean in and build off of what feels like you. So anything that is organic to you. If you're a dog lover, get some dog treats, hand them out at the dog park, start some conversations. People, it's easier to build trust when you have common interests. If you work nights at a bar, start networking with your customers, talk to people, let them know who you are, what you're getting into. And if you're newer and you don't necessarily have the knowledge or the education or the experience yet, you can back off, you can use the backup of your team and the brokerage that you're with of, oh, I'm backed by this amount of experience, or these are the mentors or the managers I have above me to help me learn and get these things answered for you. And then just don't let people strip your individuality, because I'm currently at my third brokerage. I think one of the hardest things about real estate has been finding a brokerage that aligns with the way I do business ethically and allows me to be me. And a lot of them don't want to let you brand, you know, to yourself and what's uniquely you. And I'm an independent contractor at the end of the day. So I am my own business. My brokerage, I love, they take care of me. I hang my license there. They oversee my contracts, but I'm the one every day running around putting my heart and soul and blood, sweat, and tears into it. So I want to be at a place, and am now with Horizon Realty, that I'm able to be me. And not, you know, I don't know what the future holds. I want to be a broker one day. I might start my own brokerage. I didn't want to have to keep reinventing myself and be tied to something else completely and not be able to, you know, show who I am.
Tell me the soup about how you change real estate companies. Like, what made you make the big move? You kind of already said it, but I think there was more to it.
So I'll keep it vague enough just for professionalism's sake. But really just conflict of ethics and business practices. So how to convert clients, the level of pressure to use to convert clients, or even just, I'm very community based. I do a lot of volunteer work. So for me, I do it because it's the right thing to do, not for notoriety. So that, you know, that type of stuff as well. Practicing what you preach. If you're about the community, be about the community. If you care about people, put them first. Otherwise, just, you know, do your thing and let everybody else do their thing. But just the practicing what you preach is everything for me. And especially in a difficult market, I'd rather have no sale than have somebody buy the wrong house that they're going to have a horror story like you said in. Nothing in the world is worth that to me.
Do you think we're in a real estate bubble? You know, nationwide seems like it, but I think Austin.
Yes and no. So obviously I'm more, you know, in tune with the hyper-local area, but at the beginning of this year, so I'm sure it's still relatively accurate, I went to a economic forecast, and it showed that in states where there wasn't a lot of growth and people moving in, like in Austin during COVID, they didn't have bubbles, they didn't have spikes. Now there's people moving there. So the real estate market, we all forget because we're so used to what's around us in the direct vicinity, but like even city-wise, there's variations from Houston to Dallas to Austin, which is why it's best that if you're going to start tapping into multiple markets as a real estate agent, you make sure you learn as much as you can about each area, because they are different.
Yeah.
There's different tax rates, there's different traffic patterns, there are different just things to consider.
Gotcha. And I don't think Austin's gonna slow down. Even if there's people moving here every day. What forecast do you see for next year, maybe 5 years or anything like that?
So I would definitely say next year, hopefully we'll see a gradual increase in buyer interest demand, which will help gradually also reduce days on market. I don't think it's going to be like this. I don't think it's going to be like with the flick of a switch like it was during COVID, a lot more gradual, because the rates are dropping gradually.
Yeah.
If the rates drop somehow to 2%, which nobody's projecting that to happen for years, that would probably incite a crazy, uptick.
Yeah.
But we're not expected to see that. COVID was such a unique situation, and the way rates were, that really affected our area immensely.
Yeah.
And so now we are in the downturn of prices, but we are going to slowly and steadily over the next 5 years seeing that increase. So for people who purchased before 2019 or at the beginning of 2020, pre-spike, they're often seeing double to triple equity boosts from when they purchased. But over the last few years, depending on the area, I mean, I have one client and, they bought 2.5 years ago, their first home before I got into real estate, and we're going to rent it out because it's worth $80,000 less than when it was bought.
Gotcha.
So in those cases, some people are going to have to sit on it for a while. And we've been seeing more short sales and foreclosures and things advertised from people who moved here at the spike, lost their job, or have to relocate, and they can't make up, they paid too much. So the equity doesn't equal what they spent.
Yeah. And earlier I asked, about some advice for, people who come in real estate. Now, what people should not do when you're in real estate or becoming a real estate agent?
Once again, not everybody's going to agree with me on this, but don't be pushy. Like, build value. Let value be how you sell, how you close a deal. Let people see why they want to work with you, why they should work with you. You can push people into a sale maybe once, but you will, in my opinion, you will not get referrals. You're not going to get repeat business because there's no value, which means there's no relationship.
Yeah.
If you build value, which turns into a relationship, now you have loyalty, which means you're locked in with that person. And if you follow up and treat them like a human and not a number, you will continue to have that loyalty in that relationship. So just be a person first and be organic, because like I said, maybe I know some real estate agents, they're pushy, or maybe they get it to work, but that's not me. I'm very turned off by pushy.
Yeah. I had a friend, and that makes sense because I had a friend the one that bought in Manor, she told me that she didn't like the first real estate agent that she talked to, was dealing with. And she's like, oh, you got to buy now. This is the perfect, and she's like, oh, I felt, and maybe he wasn't necessarily pushy, but it's, she felt that way. And then she, we know somebody else, so that we recommended somebody that we know, and it was, night and day difference. Took the time, all that, and then eventually she was able to purchase. So
yeah, I mean, for me, it's like it truly, it's not my place to decide when, where, and what house you buy. It's my job to educate you as you are on your journey to finding that house. So whether you buy today, tomorrow, or 2 years from now, that's really none of my business. What is my business is educating you as you're looking at homes and deciding what makes the most sense for you and your family. Yeah. So it's always nice when I show my clients the first few homes, because I think there is that little concern maybe that how am I going to handle in a house versus out and about.
Yeah.
I have no loyalty to that home. I have loyalty to my client. If you don't like this house, cool. Tell me what you don't like about it. I didn't build it.
Yeah.
Let's take that into account and adjust accordingly. And to me, it's not a waste, because every wrong house brings you closer to the right one. You can figure out what's more important than you thought it was. Maybe you don't really, need the garden tub. Maybe you care more about the open floor plan or the backyard size or whatever the case may be. So it's showing people everything, and then also showing them the reality. What is this going to look like for you? What is the estimated taxes going to look like? What's your full picture? And are you okay with that? And if you're okay with it, cool.
Do you have any family here?
So in Austin, I have a few cousins, but most of my family is in Pittsburgh.
Okay. I ask because usually in some type of sales, well, when it comes to home car industry, you start with your friends and family, that's where you make the most money at the beginning. But you are doing obviously everything right because you have no family here. So you have to put in the work and extra work.
My first client was my best friend, though. So I had a short snippet.
All right.
Not family and no sphere, but a really loyal best friend who knew it was my first time in, my first transaction, but trusted my ethics and my attention to detail. And because she knows me so well on that front. Yeah. She knew that everything else I'd make sure was double checked and confirmed and made sure it was done exactly right. So because of that, she's in a house she loves. She's comfortable with what they're paying every month for it. And I learned so much and I've been able to grow. And so it's great when I've met clients 2 years ago who are finally going to be ready this year. And one's even apologized, like, oh, I'm so sorry we haven't bought a house yet. And I'm like, girl, you don't owe me an apology. Yeah. You're like, it's your money. It's your timeline. I'm just here when you're ready. I'm not going to push you being ready. But once again, that's that loyalty. We're not looking right now, so there's no paperwork signed, but they see me as their real estate agent because of that relationship.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know what? And sales eventually comes to that trust, I find it amusing that people maybe want to develop a pitch or a silver tongue, as they call it, or you want to be a shark. But in all reality, it's just trust, like your friend, if you were unexperienced, she still said, hey, why would I buy it from somebody else versus somebody that I trust? So, what else can you tell us about, yourself and what drives you, what motivates you? How do you keep positive? Because it's real estate, it's a crazy market. And especially here in Austin, you're competing with a lot of people. So how do you keep positive and motivated?
Doing what I love, being around people that motivate me. One of the pros of networking and being around like-minded business people is I've met great friends that I can align with on a business level. Yeah. I've always been very out of the box and business-minded in my thinking, and so sometimes I struggle to have those type of conversations with people. So that's been beautiful in my growth and just reassuring, and just when you're having those down days, having somebody uplift you, remind you that you are putting in all this work. And once again, your seed may not grow tomorrow or next week or next month, but that doesn't mean it's not coming next year. And that doesn't invalidate the hustle and the doing it the right way and being consistent and being able to sleep at night. Like that's how I live my life and go about my business. And then I just love doing for others. So charity work. One of my clients, she works at Gaddis Elementary School in Round Rock. And so for the past year and a half, me and my husband will do monthly snack donations that we drop off, maybe a few $100s of snacks that she gives out to different kids in need. And
healthy snacks?
As healthy as possible. Unfortunately, they have to all be like single use and non-perishable stuff. So we're not able to do like fruit or like yogurts or that type of stuff, but I do the best that I can to try to get as much fruit and veggies and protein snuck in there as I can. And so that's been like, one time I even cried leaving the school. One of the teachers showed me around, introduced me to some kids, and it's just sometimes you move so fast or you have certain goals in mind and you hit some, you maybe don't hit others, and the market affects some of that. But to see the difference I'm making, like that's worth it all. Like to see that, or to have people be so appreciative or confident with their decision because they know what they're signing up for. They know what's going on and they're comfortable with it. So doing for others, that just fuels me. So when I'm down or when I'm overwhelmed, and then just the momentum, you have to keep going. Whenever you slow down, it's so hard to get back moving. And I've had those modes. There's times I get burnt out and there's like 3 or 4 days I just struggle to be productive. My brain is mush. And real estate is so brain heavy, and property taxes are so brain heavy, and my brain is tired. It's like, chill, like just don't talk for a little bit. but it's finding that balance. And then, just having great friends that are like, you're killing it, keep going, you're doing it the right way. We see your growth. And then even my best friend now, one of her friends, she was like, oh, isn't your best friend a real estate agent? We're going to be looking this year.
Oh, nice.
Now her friend can get the even better version of me that has the ethics and organization and the knowledge. So it's just that organic. I'm very organic in my growth, and I want my business to be more organic. And it takes a little longer to build, but it's so much more solid of a foundation.
Yeah. Hopefully I don't lose some audience with what I'm about to say in the fitness community. But one thing I always look at, and I like to psychoanalyze a lot of things, is like gym rats. You know, they have one tunnel vision. It is like whatever they're going with life, they take it out on the gym. But they don't grow. I don't see a lot of people growing after that, or beyond that.
Yeah.
And you're a very well-rounded person. There's trust. You have hardcore values that we're losing, I guess, or at least we're not seeing, or people are not portraying their core values. So what is your life motto?
It's the golden rule: treat others how you want to be treated.
Okay.
I live by that. I don't have any tattoos, but if I had one, it would be that.
There you go.
Because it's just everything I do, whether it's personal life, whether it's business development, whether it's my clients, how would I want someone to treat me? And I'm also a sensitive soul, so I really take, it's hard sometimes, but the plus is that I take deep thought into what that means, or even delivering information to my clients. The market dips, your home's worth $20,000 less in a matter of a month. That's not optimal information. And it's emotional, because that money, that affects your life and your future. So being able to validate that, but still be honest and realistic with people, that goes a long way.
Gotcha. And work and life balance is, it's very important. How I vent, I actually have a act out scenario. So like when I'm driving,
I love that.
So when I'm driving, people probably think I'm jamming to music, but I'm literally like pretending I'm talking to someone and what the situation is. And then also during the shower, I think I do that as well. So what do you do? Where do you go to like vent and like shut down the real estate, and then what do you work out or no?
So I work out a few times a week. I've been working with a trainer who is very well educated with chronic pain. So gradually building up pace, finally getting a little muscle, a little strength, doing it in a way that's sustainable. So I do enjoy that. Volunteering also, like I'm smiling ear to ear anytime I'm doing anything. I also once a month will go and do like food donations and drop-offs to various areas around Austin. And so just doing for others, fuels me, makes me feel good. And then also my husband, he does a lot of passive listening, where I'm like, what did I say the last 5 minutes? And he's like, ooh, I don't know. But just like letting me talk out my thoughts sometimes. And then I have a few solid real estate friends too that know me really well. So I'll call them and be like, hey, I'm struggling with this. Like my business brain is telling me one thing, but my heart is telling me I need to do something else. Like talk me through it. And they know me so well that they can help me make my own choice, but help me talk through it. Gotcha.
Speaking of that, do you have any role models that you look up to in the real estate business? I guess role models.
I would say I'm not as well versed. I've been so busy, like head in the trenches, building and growing in real estate. I'm not as very familiar with, I will say one. So one does come to mind. So his name is Brian Buffini, and he built his business a lot off of the things that I do, a lot of it I identified with him. He does it's called client appreciation method. So you value your clients, you make them feel good, you make people feel special and important, and that builds loyalty and trust, and in turn increases your business. And so I took a class, not that was taught by him, it was a recorded class from him, like 6 months into real estate. And that really clicked with me of like, wow, I'm a gift giver. I love doing for others. That feels good. And I'm an independent contractor, so I'm on a limited budget. So now I've perfected the like cost effective, but stuff that's still useful and valuable and people like, and found that really good, balance with things.
Awesome. Okay. Well, how can people get a hold of you? Do you have a website? How can your LinkedIn?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I, all of my branding is by with Batya. So like by BUI with, and then my name, super difficult 5-letter name, BATYA. So it's bywithbatya.com. And then all of my social medias, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook are also by with Batya.
Gotcha. Can you tell me, what does your name mean?
Yeah, so it's Hebrew, and it means daughter of God in Hebrew.
Interesting. So
growing up, it was very unique, and I didn't love it as a kid because people butchered it, but I've leaned into it.
Yeah, when I met you, I thought you were like European, like Middle Eastern European or Eastern European because of your name. I never heard of it.
Well, I mean,
before.
I do have Eastern European heritage, but
okay.
my great-grandparents were born in Pittsburgh, so
Gotcha.
we've been in the Steel City for a while.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you. It was lovely to redo this and keep pushing through. I see this girl almost every single event. She's also running a chapter for a networking group that we belong to. So if you want a real, genuine person, real estate agent, this is the girl to talk to. So
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this.
awesome.